MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 280 of Cleanup on Aisle 45. It's Wednesday, June 3rd, 2026. I'm Allison Gill.
June 3rd. We are halfway through the year, man. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Harry Dunn. And as always, our show wouldn't be the same if we didn't have tons to talk about and go over this week, including Judge Mehta asking Jeanine Pirro to explain why he should dismiss the case against the Oath Keepers, and Alabama Governor Kay Ivey calling for a new primary election in 2 redrawn districts.
Oh, so weird. She's just scrapping the primary results from May. Plus, Trump is going after Jeanine Carroll as the Department of Justice opens a criminal investigation into a nonprofit that helped her with some legal fees. And it appears that Donald Trump is looking to ditch JD as his successor. Maybe. Who knows? I guess he doesn't like him very much. But first, we have some new patrons to thank, including Leslie Potter, pronouns she and her, Susan Bernstein, or Bernstein, excuse me if I'm pronouncing that improperly, Lila's 17 at 2, Lisa, let's see, Haney Lima.
I know her. Right. Hi, Lisa.
You do? Judith Strunk. Thank you so much for becoming patrons. If you want to become a patron, you can do that at patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE 45POD. So, we record this show on Mondays and we put it out on Wednesdays. And so this will be old news for you by the time that you hear this. But it's breaking for us, apparently. This is according to Axios. So, my hackles, stand up a little bit when we're talking about Axios reporting. But apparently Trump is thinking of walking away from his $1.776, $1.8 billion slush fund, Harry, the one that was going to reward the one you're suing over, the one I'm suing over. But apparently he's, Axios is saying that they're going to abide by the court rulings or whatever. And no court has ruled on the merits of this slush fund yet. But Trump, I guess, maybe is looking for an off-ramp from this thing, probably because Senate Republicans aren't going to fund ICE unless he drops it. Yeah.
So isn't the ruling right now is just a pause, say we don't do anything before we go to court. That's basically what the blocking of the fund was, right?
Yeah, just a temporary stay.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. So now I'm looking at the Department of Justice put out a tweet probably about 30 minutes from when we were reporting about this. And they say they disagree strongly with the decision of the anti-weaponization fund put by the 4th District Court in Virginia, and said that under no circumstances may the Department of Justice proceed with the anti-weaponization fund recently established in order to make up from the tremendous abuse, harm, and hate unfairly shown to so many people. This fund was open to anybody who was weaponized, targeted, or persecuted, whether they were Democrat or Republican, conservative or independent. The department will abide by the court's ruling. Okay. So like you said, AG, it sounds like maybe they are trying to say, hey, the courts aren't going to pass it. And look at this, the court won't let me do it. And Donald Trump may drop it.
Yeah, but he would be lying if he tried to do that. And I'm not sure how you walk away from something that the Department of Justice has already entered as a settlement. Legally, that could be tricky. And then we also have Judge Williams down in Miami who just reopened the Trump v. IRS case to look into whether there was collusion amid the IRS, the Department of Justice, and Donald Trump for this quote-unquote settlement, and whether or not they perpetrated a fraud on the court, as suggested by those 35 former federal judges who filed an amicus brief in the case asking the judge to reopen the case. And she's done a briefing schedule. She wants the government to answer the charges that there was a fraud against the court by June 12th. And I have to say, Harry, much like in the Abrego case, when Judge Boasberg, even though the case was moot, remember when he ordered the planes turned around?
Sure.
And the DOJ flouted that court order. He opened contempt proceedings and said, it doesn't matter if you've brought Mr. Abrego back. It doesn't moot the fact that you might have disobeyed a lawful court order. And so we're going to go forward with this. Now it's stuck in appeals court right now. But much like that, I don't think that if he walks away from this slush, if he thinks he can walk away from this and have Judge Williams drop her investigation into a fraud on the court, I don't know it's going to go the way he thinks.
Yeah.
I think it might stay.
Yeah, no, I definitely. But like this is all worth following because, like, specifically with the slush fund, AG, two things. I feel very happy and proud, and I think you should too, because this is what fighting and standing up does. This is what it actually does. We did this. We did this. But also at the same time, we need to make sure that the Trump administration doesn't actually proceed. We know how they are. And they always try to lie, they try to distract, and they try to fund this. We have to stay aggressive. And like I said, we need to make sure that this actually sees the light of day. The fund never sees the light of day, but the ruling actually sees the light of day.
Yeah. And the Axios reporting has no mention of whether or not he's going to walk away from the fact that he doesn't have to be audited by the IRS anymore, which was an addendum to the quote unquote settlement made by Todd Blanche the day after he established, without giving notice and comment period on the Federal Register, which is what my lawsuit is about, this fund. So there's a lot more reporting on this. We'll probably know a lot more by the time this show comes out. We'll talk about it on the bonus episode this week for sure. But I just wanted to put that forward. And also, there's something else going on with legal troubles for Donald Trump. And that is the fact that
I love that
is the fact that he still owes Jeanine Pirro $90 million plus interest. But now he's having Todd Blanche criminally investigate. Actually, it's Boutros in Chicago, who's the guy who did all that grand jury malfeasance in the Broadview 6 case with Kat Abou-Ghazaleh. Investigate Jeanine Carroll. And it's funny because Boutros came out and said, we absolutely didn't open an investigation into Jeanine Carroll, because what actually happened is they opened an investigation into Reid Hoffman's nonprofit. And they're looking at whether or not Jeanine Carroll got money for that. So it's a weird, like, stupid legal trick to be like, we didn't open a case against Jeanine Carroll. We're just investigating her for perjury tied to this other case that we opened into Reid Hoffman. And so
and it absolutely has no reason, no way to do that. She owes Donald Trump owes her $90 million, right? It has nothing to do with that.
Right. Nothing to go about like going after his political enemies or anything, or people who have wronged him or whatnot. But we'll be keeping an eye on that as well. What grand jury is going to indict Jeanine Carroll? Get bent.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So let's jump in and talk about the Oath Keepers decision that you mentioned.
Yeah.
I'll give you a quick background again on this. On April 14th, like a month and a half ago, Jeanine Pirro, for the Department of Justice, filed a motion to vacate the charges against the Oath Keepers. And she filed that motion with the D.C. Circuit Court of Appeals. And her reason was in the interest of justice. That's the only reason she gave. Then, about 6 days later, on April 20th, Jamie Raskin asked the court to appoint him as an amicus, a friend of the court, because there's no adversary there. And you can't have an Article III court decide things that aren't controversies, because both the Department of Justice and the Oath Keepers want this case dismissed. Then, 9 days later, on April 29th, one of the Oath Keepers, Kelly Meggs, real gem, filed a motion to strike Jamie Raskin's filing. And then about a month later, on May 21st, 3 weeks after that, the appeals court ruled, vacating the charges against the Oath Keepers and remanding the case to the lower courts to consider dismissing the charges, right? And that's kind of the order of operations this has to go in.
Yeah.
And they accepted Raskin's amicus brief and denied Kelly Meggs' motion to strike Raskin's amicus brief. And so that same day, Jeanine Pirro filed motions to dismiss with the lower courts, Mehta, Judge Mehta for the Oath Keepers and Judge Kelly for the Proud Boys, along with lodging Jamie Raskin's amicus brief on both of those dockets.
Yeah, great catching us up to speed with how that went, AG. But Judge Mehta has weighed in. He says this on May 22nd. The government moved under federal rule of criminal procedure 48A to dismiss the indictment with prejudice against defendants Elmer Stewart Rhodes, Kelly Meggs, Kenneth Harrelson, Jessica Watkins, Roberto Minuta, Joseph Hackett, David Marshall, and Edward Vallejo. The court does not have primary responsibility, but rather the role of guarding against abuse of prosecutorial discretion. Rule 48B contemplates exposure of the reasons for dismissal in order to prevent abuse of the uncontrolled power of dismissal previously enjoyed by prosecutors. And in pursuance of this purpose, to gain the court's favorable discretion, it should be satisfied that the reasons advanced for the proposed dismissal are substantial.
He goes on to say the government's motion here is insufficiently detailed to allow the court to heed Amming-Down's principles. Those are the principles you have to meet to dismiss a case under 48A. The government has offered little more than a conclusory statement that dismissal is in the public interest. It provides neither a statement of reasons nor the underlying factual basis for the request. As a result, the court lacks the information necessary to both determine whether the reasons advanced for the proposed dismissal are substantial and to guard against abuse of prosecutorial discretion. So to enable the court to carry out its proper role under Rule 48A, the government shall supplement its motion to dismiss by June 5th, 2026. In other words, exactly what I said would happen, Harry. Judge Mehta's like, in the interest of justice, because I said so,
it doesn't work.
Is not enough. You're going to have to submit to me a more substantial reason so that first I can decide if it's a substantial reason, and second, I can take my responsibility inherent in my power as a authority of this court to guard against prosecutorial abuse, right?
Yeah, and rightfully so. And you know, I had kind of held out because I was hoping. I obviously we wanted this to be dismissed or denied, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, you know, me, I testified in Judge Mehta's courtroom against all the defendants that I just named. I testified against them. So I was like, how is this going to play out? So I nervously was awaiting this because, nothing has gone right. Nothing has gone right. But I feel like Judge Mehta got this one right. And I'm anxiously awaiting to see what now Judge Jeanine does, what spew she puts before the court, because obviously Judge Mehta saw right through it, just like you did, like you said from the jump, AG, that this was going to happen.
Yep, I was like, nope, there's no third party adversary, and then Jamie Raskin's like, I'll do it. Thanks, Jamie Raskin. And then I'm
Absolutely.
like, you're not giving a substantial reason to consider dismissal. And then bam, Judge Mehta's like, you need to give me a reason. So we'll see what what the government has to say, what Jeanine has to say about these reasons. And I just checked the docket on Judge Kelly's courtroom in the case against the Proud Boys. He has not yet responded to the motion to dismiss as Judge Mehta has. Yeah. I'll repeat, Judge Kelly is a Trump appointee, but Judge Kelly actually sentenced the Proud Boys to longer sentences than Judge Mehta sentenced the Oath Keepers to. And both of them accepted Merrick Garland's recommendation in his sentencing memo to add an enhancement for domestic terrorism.
Yes.
So I think if Kelly were really like in Trump's pocket on these cases, he would not have accepted that domestic terror enhancement put forth by Merrick Garland, nor would he have sentenced the Proud Boys to longer sentences than Judge Mehta. And in general, judges appointed by liberal presidents are more lenient on sentencing.
They are.
Than judges appointed by Republicans.
Because it shows they have a heart.
Because they take, they're like, we got the sentencing recommendations, but we're going to go. They usually come in under or the low end of the ranges that are suggested by Congress, who they're the ones who write sentencing recommendation rules, right? So we'll see what ends up happening. Again, I just checked the docket. We don't have an update from Judge Kelly, but that's what Judge Mehta had to say. I'm really looking forward to, again, what Jeanine Pirro gives as her reasons and whether or not Mehta accepts them as substantial and what he does with this case. Because again, he said, my hands are kind of tied here, but I do have the power and authority to guard against prosecutorial misconduct, which I think this is. Dismissing these charges for no reason.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I kind of like, I'm waiting. I'm hoping that there is a in person and not just, he calls for a hearing in person, because I will absolutely be there front and center. because this is very important. And best believe when Judge Jeanine files her brief or whatever, we will absolutely be covering it here and dissecting all the lies in it, because it's going to be riddled with them.
Yeah, and it's due Friday. So
yeah.
We'll see what she has to say for us. I have my reasons. I don't have to give them to you.
Hey, G, I just going back real quick. Scott McFarland is reporting that one of the people, Democracy Forward Watchdog Group, until the administration fully abandons the scheme, it's beyond dispute that it will not recur and our client's harm is remedied. We will be in court challenging. So until there is, and I, that's from one of the other lawsuits, but I'm pretty sure, well, based on the discussions I've had with my lawyers, we haven't said anything official yet, but that's our stance also. So yeah, it's kind of like, don't tell us, show us.
Right.
Because we don't believe you. You lie.
Yeah. And what's up with this, the no auditing me or my businesses or my crotch fruit for the next however long?
I'm about to say, yeah, does that still exist? Exactly.
Yeah, that's not mentioned at all in the Axios reporting. All right. We've got a lot more to get to, but we have to take a quick break. Everybody stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. Okay. Now on. The Senate is back from its 1-week break, and things aren't going well for Todd Blanche's slush fund. From CNN, many Senate Republicans remain furious at the Trump administration's $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund and are refusing to advance a separate bill to fund immigration enforcement until they're satisfied the payouts won't go to people who assaulted police during the January 6th attack on the Capitol, and other guardrails are put in place.
It's kind of a nice feeling to know that even though a lot of these Republican senators are dickheads publicly about January 6th, that they're privately saying we're not going to fund ICE because you can't give money to January 6th people who beat cops.
Yeah.
The article goes on, this is from CNN, by the way. Despite vocal public complaints from those GOP senators over the last 2 weeks, the White House has yet to offer a serious solution to their concerns, according to 2 Republican aides who say the immigration funding will remain stalled unless it does. So they're actually extorting Trump on funding ICE in their budget reconciliation bill to get this fund out.
That's like a win for Democrats in both ways, right?
Right? Like we held out not fund DHS, and then Republicans have to go do it by themselves. And now they can't even do it by themselves because so many of them oppose the slush fund. Like that's fun for me. This is fun. The lack of what senators see as credible movement by the White House is further eroding the bond between the administration and Senate Republicans. Many are already angry that Trump targeted 2 popular Republican senators who recently lost their primaries for re-election, Cornyn and Cassidy. And many also want to kill money Trump has demanded for security of his desired White House ballroom. Remember, they pulled the ballroom out of the reconciliation bill, as they believe it is out of touch with the economic trials of their voters, which you guys put in place, by the way. But
absolutely.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Trump is meeting with Mike Johnson, House Speaker, at the White House on Monday to discuss roadblocks to the bill to fund immigration enforcement. Specifically, according to a person familiar with the meeting, the administration's proposed the anti-weaponization fund. The two are meeting to discuss a number of issues, but the fund is certainly a key one, the source told CNN. A spokesman for Johnson said the speaker was meeting with the president, but declined to specify the topic of the conversation. Of course he did.
What's interesting is about 10 minutes before the Axios report came out that he was backing away from this slush fund, that's when this CNN report came out saying he was meeting with Mike Johnson.
With him, yeah.
So I'm wondering if Mike Johnson said, my brother, you got to step away from the slush fund. Yeah. We're not going to get ICE funded, which what's crazy is they don't want to have to defend the slush fund on the campaign trail, but they're totally fine funding ICE.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
Anyway, just weird. Amid the backlash, some Trump advisors have privately advocated adding guardrails to the fund to appease Republican lawmakers and to quell public criticism. Now, one common suggestion has been to restrict those convicted of assaulting police from accessing the fund in an effort to prevent the most violent rioters from the Capitol attack from collecting taxpayer-funded payouts. That, and they're barred by the friggin' Constitution.
Exactly.
From collecting payouts.
Yeah, 14th Amendment.
Some allies are even urging the White House to scrap the fund altogether.
But there's a but. Trump has publicly defended the fund, and the administration has yet to land on a clear path forward, leaving GOP senators bracing for a week of Democratic effort to exploit their divisions. I mean, it's the truth. It's not exploiting. It's just telling the truth. At stake is the fate of the $70 billion for ICE, like we just talked about, and Border Patrol, which Senate leaders are attempting to pass in a budget process called reconciliation that allows them to adopt it on party line vote, like you talked about, AG. Democrats are angry over the tactics by those agencies and believe they are too aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, murdering people, unarmed people is definitely too aggressive.
Yeah, kidnapping folks, tear gassing, rubber bullets, whatever.
Andy Kim, just the most recent one.
Yeah,
that's a little too aggressive, wouldn't you say?
A little bit. Now, Trump has pressed for a June 1st deadline. He did press for a June 1st deadline to pass the money to fund ICE. But the deadline was missed because Republican senators were enraged by the Department of Justice announcement that the Anti-Weaponization Fund, which the agency said was aimed at paying restitution to people targeted by the Biden administration. Critics have said it amounts to a slush fund to pay out Trump allies. Yeah, I'm one of those critics. Hello. Senator Mitch McConnell of Kentucky, former long-serving GOP leader, said at the time it was utterly stupid and morally wrong. That's what,
but again, like you said, F you, Mitch McConnell, because you said the same thing about Donald Trump being responsible for January 6th, and then you failed to convict him. So
that was utterly stupid and morally wrong.
Exactly. So Democrats have pledged to fight the fund on several fronts, including as a part of the budget bill where they will be able to offer an unlimited number of amendments. They have said they will put Republicans, especially those that, this is great strategy, especially those up for re-election in November, on the record on the controversial policy. This week, Senate Democrats will launch a coordinated effort to kill the slush fund before 1 cent goes out the door. And no matter what Republicans do, we will force them to vote. This is from Chuck Schumer, what he said in a letter to his colleagues on Monday.
Yeah, and he also said that Senate Democrats are still going to introduce legislation this week, even if Trump walks away from the slush fund, to put these guys on the record and to make sure that no president can ever do this again. He also added there will be no escape hatch, no fake guardrails or backroom promises to hide behind, no Justice Department announcement that makes this corruption acceptable. With the immigration agenda in limbo, the Senate is expected to take up nominations this week. Senators also hope to pass a 3-year extension of the Section 702 of the FISA, which is that the FISA court allows for surveillance. Right?
Yeah.
It expires in 2 weeks. So it has bipartisan support as it is expected to pass. So it looks like they're shelving ICE and the slush fund for a minute so that they can do confirmations and vote on FISA, so they can look like they're doing something. While they sit around, I guess, wait for Trump to
tell them what they can do. Exactly.
Back away from this slush fund. So absolutely bizarre turn of events. That the backlash from this slush fund was actually the off-ramp that most Senate Republicans needed to stand up to Donald Trump. It kind of blows my mind that's their red line of everything else that has gone on, but that it is tied to the fact that they don't think it's proper to pay people who attacked the Capitol on January 6th restitution for weaponization out of a taxpayer-funded slush fund. So we will keep an eye on this and continue to monitor the news as the show goes on as well.
Yeah.
But we also have some potential trouble in paradise for JD Vance, as I like to call him.
I see what you did there.
Because apparently the newly converted Catholic who put an Episcopalian church on the cover of his book about it has, kind of fallen out of favor. And now Trump is asking around, so who do you think my successor should be? And that's, given he leaves.
Yeah.
But maybe he's preparing for it to happen because it will at some point. Who knows? But we're going to talk about all that after this break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Next up, trouble in paradise, trouble in the Appalachians for JD Vance. This is from The Times. In recent conversations with aides and allies, Trump often interjects with a question about his vice president. Does JD Vance have what it takes to go all the way? Well, yeah, with a couch. He usually answers. Then he usually answers his own question. I'm not sure. Now, it's not that Trump is abandoning Vance. He involves him in major decisions. Actually, he sends him out to get embarrassed on the regular.
He does.
Gives him high-profile opportunities to position himself for 2028 and trusts the 41-year-old vice president to wage partisan warfare on his behalf. In a cabinet meeting this week, Trump compared Vance to Elliot Ness, the mob-busting federal agent working to ferret out fraud in mostly Democratic-controlled states, not fraud at the White House.
Elliot Ness, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Donald Trump has long conducted running focus groups on his closest aides and appears to enjoy needling them and keeping them off balance as a way of asserting his dominance. Several people in the president's inner circle have been subject to his quasi-public questioning of their performance and their future. I mean, he does that with people that he campaigns for. Like we've seen him, when he go down in South Carolina with Lindsey Graham and down in Florida. I mean, he does it to people that are just nuts. But when it comes to Vance, the stakes are higher as the default frontrunner for the Republican nomination and would-be inheritor of the president's political movement. Vance's fortune ride to a substantial degree on the enthusiasm of support he gets from Trump and Trump's regular polling of the people on whether they prefer Mr. Vance or Secretary Marco Rubio has become one of the most clearly watched early indicators of how power in the Republican Party might pass to the next generation.
Oh, my goodness. When he conducts those polls in private, by the way, Mr. Trump often compares Vance's performance to his own achievements. He's told several allies that Vance has never won a tough race without Trump's help. Mr. Trump's endorsement got Mr. Vance over the finish line in a tight race for an Ohio Senate seat. He has brought up a number of vacations that Vance has taken as vice president. Trump does not generally take them. I mean, he golfs every weekend. He has repeatedly mentioned the vice president's initial opposition to starting the war with Iran and has done so in front of Mr. Vance. Quote, I'm more of a peace person than you are, but I had to do it, he said. What? Vance didn't want okay. The president has also questioned his decision to send a Vance-led delegation to a negotiation session in Pakistan that failed to end the war. That's what I'm saying by I don't think he's giving him chances to stand out in 2028. I think he's giving him chances to embarrass himself now and hurt his chances in 2028.
Yeah, Trump has always keenly attuned to the optics of his presidency, has zeroed in on moments where Vance might not look the part. He has repeatedly brought up a moment from last spring where Vance fumbled Ohio State's national football championship trophy on the White House lawn. Trump said, I'm happy it wasn't me. This account of Trump's relationship with his vice president is based on interviews with more than a dozen people who are directly familiar with the dynamic between the two men. Some of them were granted anonymity to speak about Trump's thinking.
Yeah, so in meetings, JD frequently scrolls on his phone, uses social media to fight with his critics. The president frequently posts to Truth Social, but he doesn't spend time replying to people online like Mr. Vance does. Susie Wiles, Mr. Trump's chief of staff, as we know, recently advised Vance to take a break from social media, as have other officials in the West Wing, and that's according to people familiar with those interactions. Like, he's 9. No screens for you, JD.
Yeah, screen time.
Because the fighting he's doing online is beneath his office. Mr. Vance said he took a break from social media for Lent. So, he gave up social media for Lent to, be in touch with Jesus, the sacrifices of Jesus Christ.
Yes, of course he did.
That's very, very important that we, understand what Christ went through for 40 days and 40 nights in the desert. And giving up social media, I'm sure, was something that is right on par with that kind of suffering. Okay, that's just sorry. I was raised Catholic, and JD Vance is a nutball.
Exactly.
So like, I don't know, man. That sounds like he's 5 years old, and that put down the phone, don't be on social media. This is just all so weird. But Trump has continued to needle Mr. Vance on matters of substance and style, from criticizing his shoes to ribbing him for his tendency to interject in conversations.
Yeah, in November, the president wondered aloud. He thought out loud.
He does that every day.
Vance was not more subservient like the officials who work for President Xi in China. Why don't you behave like that? Trump asked Vance during a breakfast for Republican senators. JD doesn't behave like that. JD butts into conversations. I want to have that for at least a couple of days. Okay, JD? That's insane, right? To win the 2028 nomination, Vance must stay in good standing with Trump and reassure the Republican Party he has been molded in the president's image, but fractured by his choices. So far, like most vice presidents, Vance has prioritized his relationship with the president.
Gross. Last summer, Trump said Mr. Vance was most likely to be his political heir apparent. Quote, in all fairness, he's the vice president, Mr. Trump told reporters in August, almost like he's a giant piece of shit, but he is the vice president. Adding that he thought Mr. Rubio could eventually be added to a presidential ticket, but that it was, quote, too early, obviously, to talk about it. Now, since that interview, Trump has praised Rubio and has told people close to him how impressed he is with the job Rubio is doing. Now, Rubio spends more time with Trump than Vance does, as is typical of a national security advisor. Mr. Rubio frequently travels with Trump on Air Force One, and they've bonded over weekends in Florida. Oh, the bromance flourishes. Mr. Vance, by nature of being vice president, doesn't travel on the same planes as Donald Trump. Yeah, I'm sure that's why he's not hanging out with him.
That's exactly why. According to a Quinnipiac poll published last week, about 73% of Republican voters still widely approve of the job Trump is doing. According to a poll released by Pew in February, 75% of Republicans voters view Vance favorably. They are both broadly unpopular, however. The president's overall approval rating has sunk to a second-term low. According to Quinnipiac, Mr. Vance is similarly unpopular, with 39% of voters approving of the job he is doing.
Oof. Now, recently, JD has faced criticism among conservatives for his support of the Iran war and for engaging with Trump's attacks on Pope Leo for speaking out against the war. Mr. Vance, who converted to Catholicism in 2019 at age 35, advised the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Catholics to stick to religion.
Shut up and pray? Is that like the shut up and dribble and like they show LeBron? Shut up and pray? Is that what?
Peace is a thing in religion. Anyway.
Yeah.
Critics, though, have characterized JD Vance as a political shapeshifter. And I have to agree. Kind of like how we used to call Lindsey, or we still do, Lindsey Graham, the Lindsey fish.
Yes.
You know, he's that fish that just eats off of the bigger fish, whatever the most powerful fish is. He's just like, let me eat those things. Let me just take care of you. You know, like so he's like a political shapeshifter. I don't know so much as more. He's just like a lick spittle. He's just butt snorkeling all the time.
He has no identity. He is a coward who is going to say and do whatever is needed to get him elected or whatever's popular. He doesn't have a spine or, or strong legs to stand on.
Right. No, because if everybody remembers, like back in the day, he's like, I'm a never Trump guy. I don't like him. I think he's a terrible candidate. He's morally reprehensible. Like he's just saying all these things about it.
In fairness, AG, in fairness to him, all Republicans say that.
So yeah, Marco Rubio said it a bunch.
Maybe they do.
Ted Cruz said it. Anybody who ran against him.
Kevin McCarthy, everybody, all these people. So yeah.
But then they end up bowing down and kissing the ring for some sort of political future in a party that has no political future, in my personal opinion. All right, we got one story left, and we're going to talk about it after this break. It's, basically Kay Ivey in Alabama just threw out the results of an election. And so we're going to discuss that and what's going on with these two districts that are impacted by her decision. But we have to take a break, so stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody. Now check out this news from this scumbag. All right, our final story comes from the Alabama Daily News. Governor Kay Ivey voided primary results and called for a special election for two Alabama state Senate districts Friday morning after a Thursday court decision allowed the state to revert to previously struck down maps. The special election for Montgomery area Senate District 25 and 26 will take place on August 11th. The same date as the special primary for 4 of Alabama's congressional districts. Affected districts span Montgomery, Elmore, and Crenshaw counties.
Yeah, of course, Ivey applauded the 11th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals Thursday decision in a news release announcing the primary. Quote, Alabama continues winning fair and square in our redistricting battle. And I'm proud to celebrate yet another victory for Alabamians. Is that how you Alabamians? Alabamians. I'm like from San Diegoans. Alabamians and our elections. That's what Ivey said. Now, the special election proclamation is the latest step in Alabama's redistricting battle, which has been rife with legal appeals. The Alabama legislature empowered Ivey to call special primaries in case courts allowed the state to change its maps during a special session earlier this month. Now, Ivey said in the release she remains hopeful the Supreme Court will rule in favor of Alabama in the state's pending appeal about its congressional map. She said, "I can tell you this, Alabama is not tired of winning."
Unbelievable. Senate President Pro Temp Garland Gudger, a Republican from Coleman, also celebrated the ruling in a release. He said the decision means that elections can be held using fairly drawn maps that are firmly rooted in common sense and prioritize reason over race. From day one, we have stood by the constitutionality of the state Senate maps that were drawn and passed by the legislature in 2021, and the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals should be commended for finally seeing the light, Gudger said. It's unfortunate that activist plaintiffs forced the state to waste so much time, effort, and legal fees in order to end up exactly where we started, he continued.
Yeah, well, I'm sure, activists are pretty pissed about that too.
Yeah.
And the change back to the old map only affects 2 districts, but those races have been effectively turned on their heads. Senator Kirk Hatcher, the Democrat from Montgomery, who currently represents District 26, and Senator Will Barfoot, the Republican from Pike Road, who serves the people of District 25, announced shortly after the court ordered the new map that they were going to switch districts ahead of the 2026 election cycle. This shift would have allowed both men to remain with many of their current constituents, but Thursday's ruling means the incumbents don't need to switch after all. The men will now run for re-election in the Senate districts they currently represent. Running in District 25 again, Barfoot called the decision a relief and said he feels that the court was correct.
Yeah, no matter where he's running, Barfoot said his priorities of improving public safety and increasing police staffing stay the same. Hatcher's Democratic primary was the only contested primary in the 2 affected districts during the May 19th election. He defeated challengers KK Middleton and Phaedra Carson Foster and avoided a runoff with 55% of the vote. Those results are now void. Midterm primary turnout is already low in Alabama, and it's likely a special primary could garner even lower participation.
Yeah, and that's the point. It also might be the point to get him under the runoff cap and force Democrats into an expensive runoff. Now, Barfoot recognized this and said he hopes the fact that there's also a congressional race on the ballot will help turn people out. District 25 and 26 sit within the districts that could potentially change if the state is allowed to use the GOP-friendly congressional map from 2023, the one that was outlawed. Though his number one concern is getting people out to vote, Barfoot said he wants voters to be educated about the candidates. Barfoot said that despite the shorter campaign timeline, he thinks there's enough time for voters to learn enough about the candidates to make an informed vote. Again, the special election will take place August 11th, and of course, the general election is November 3rd.
These people are just scum, AG.
Yeah, they're just throwing out election results, just disenfranchising voters.
Just because we're able, the courts will side with us now. It's terrible, man.
Yeah, making up our minds for us. Right?
What do we do? You know what we do? We sue because going like like I said, I still feel good, and that's what this is about. It's and also AG, like a lot of people say, oh, a lot of bad news, a lot of bad news, but a lot of this stuff we talked about even in this show has been good news, and it's been Democrats fighting back. We talked about with the ICE and border security funding, border patrol funding, that they're going to make people get on the record and vote about issues that are important to the constituents regarding the slush fund. That's important. That's what we need to do. And look about fighting back. They say, you know what? You want to fight ICE? Do it yourself. That was a way of fighting back. And now they are looking like they're not going to be able to do that either. Or it's taking longer to do so. So when we yell into our microphones and into the void and we type in all caps, do something. This is kind of what we're talking about. It's actually doing something, because who knows what it will trigger.
Right. Yeah, and it's important. And if this slush fund does get shut down, I'm going to do a victory dance, and I know you are too.
Absolutely.
Because
Mine's going to involve a bottle of bourbon, but yeah.
But, it's the totality of the opposition to this fund. Not only do you have senators threatening to not fund ICE, you've got you and Danny Hodges, you've got me, you've got Citizens for Responsibility Ethics in Washington, 35 former federal judges, you've got this former January 6th prosecutor in Virginia, the one that froze this case, that froze the slush fund temporarily. So there's a lot out there. And, I think that being part of that fight is important. It helped to send the message to Senate Republicans that this is an illegal cash grab from the Treasury.
That's all that it is.
And the fact that there's fucking Sam Alito's kid, Philip, is a lawyer at the Treasury.
Yeah.
And he would be deciding on this fund and working on this fund, then Alito has to recuse himself if any of our cases get up to the Supreme Court, in my personal opinion. But we'll see if it goes that far.
We don't expect them to.
Mm-hmm. And or if, the reopened case with the IRS, if that continues, even if the slush fund's dropped, which I think it will, and makes its way up to the Supreme Court, Alito's going to have to recuse himself from this. He's got a son working for the DOJ and the Treasury, on this potential fund and its legality. Sorry, buddy.
Absolutely.
I imagine somebody would be filing a motion like you need to yeet Alito into the sun, please.
Because... But also, Clarence Thomas, his wife is a whole insurrectionist, so there's still that.
A whole ass insurrectionist.
I'm not lying, she is. Yeah.
She is. She absolutely is. Her and her little flags that she raises. But anyway, thank you all so much for listening. We really appreciate it. You can become a patron again at patreon.com/aisle45pod. We're going to have a bonus episode this weekend. And I wanted to apologize. We had to postpone our Patreon happy hour to this Thursday. We were going to do it last Thursday, but everybody was busy, right? Andy was on vacation. I was at my goddaughter's graduation. You had a campaign event.
And stuff.
Dana was out of the country. There was just nobody that could do it. And we've rarely had to postpone these. So we appreciate your patience, and check your inbox for a link to the happy hour. I believe it's going to be this Thursday. We'll keep you posted. Do you have any final thoughts, my friend?
No, just like I said, fighting back works, y'all, sometimes. But we never win. We'll never win if we don't fight back.
Yeah, it is always worth the fight.
Fighting back gives us a chance. So it's worth it. So let's stay in this fight, y'all.
Yep, always worth the fight. Thank you, my friend. Everybody, we'll see you next week. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo designer by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.